So why is car insurance mandatory in Canada but life insurance isn't? Car insurance is mandatory to cover the life of someone else other than you and your family when you're involved in an accident. Of course, what comes to our mind when we get car insurance is to cover ourselves and cover our vehicle, but that's not how it always plays out. In Ontario, where I live, car insurance is very, very expensive. Here's my story with car insurance. I was paying very, very high premiums, and that's the reason I was paying high premiums is a story for another time. But what happened to me is I was driving in a parking lot and an old man backed into my car, the right side of my car, as I was already past him. So he backed into the right side of my car. Both the doors on the right side of my car were completely destroyed. There was a line right through the right side of my car. I had to go through the whole insurance process. I had to give my car to my insurance company for felt like a month, but probably 3 weeks at least. This particular insurance company was partnered with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So you would think that, the process will be smooth. I get a car to replace my vehicle. When I get my vehicle back, I return that rental car, right? Again, story for another time, but me and Enterprise Rent-A-Car don't have the best relationship, so I couldn't go with Enterprise to get a rental. But I did have $2,000 of coverage for rentals per month that my car is being repaired through my insurance company. I let my insurance company know, hey, I don't want to go with Enterprise for whatever reason. I didn't have to disclose why. They're like, okay, cool, you can get a field rental, just let us know, blah, 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 blah. So I go to the Avis that was nearby to the insurance company service center. The gentleman there, talks to the customer service. So the thing is, my insurance company, even though I have $2,000 of allowance for the rental car, they had a deal with Enterprise where the daily limit was about $25. So they were trying to offer Avis that, and the guy at Avis was just not happy with that because he was trying to charge $85 and he came down to $65 or something like that. My insurance company was not willing to budge. So now I had to take an Uber from Etobicoke all the way home, $60 Uber with no rental car. And it took me about a week and a half dealing with the claims adjuster, or going back and forth trying to get a rental. And I ended up getting a rental with budget, but like a week and a half it took, where I was taking the bus, I didn't have a rental car. And, I was paying these high premiums. Premiums already high in Ontario, but I was paying very, very high premiums. I pay these high premiums. Like, how often does insurance company pay out for things like this, And obviously it's a business, so they're trying to pay out as little as humanly possible when you make a claim. That's not really my biggest gripe. Obviously, if I was good with Enterprise, no issue. This would be a non-issue. Everything would have went smooth. I just experienced the reality of things when you can't take the straight path. So anyways, long story short, almost 3 weeks to a month later, I get my car back. Car looks good as new. It's detailed. Everything's great. I don't notice a difference, of course. I'm not a car guy. I can't really tell. So, my car looks mint. I'm happy with it. A friend of mine who's a car guy told me, tried closing my door, tested out my doors, just closing them. And he's like, yeah, I hate to tell you this, but, these are not OEM doors because the insurance company cheaped out on the doors. So now whenever I close the door, it's not a great feeling, whenever I close the doors on the right side of my car. It's non-OEM doors. They don't shut with the same weight. As the doors on the left side of my car. This is car insurance. It's mandatory. I'm paying, hundreds of dollars a month. This is mandatory. We all have to pay it, so we pay it, right? I don't know if majority of people probably wouldn't get it if it's a high rate and it wasn't mandatory to get it in Canada. On my end, in this scenario, I got screwed over with the cheap doors. I got screwed over, obviously, with the rental situation. It took a long time. It wasted a lot of my time. What did the doors cost to fix? Probably a few thousand, maybe. Why is life insurance not mandatory? Like, life insurance protects your family. Obviously, I can't tell you about my experience with a life insurance claim because I'm still standing here. But, most people don't like to think about life insurance because I get it. Before I knew about life insurance, I probably would be the exact same way. It's just lack of education. You want to, eat that piece of cake. You want to travel to that country. You want to go experience all these things. You want to live in the moment. You don't want to think about death. But it's like, you got to realize that, they should actually make life insurance mandatory, at least to have a minimal amount of coverage, because you're trying to protect your family and your loved ones. In the event that anything happens to you in the short term or even in the long term, they get paid out tax-free money. It's not an easy thing to talk about, obviously. No one wants to talk about death while we're living. Life insurance, especially if you're the sole income earner in your household, you definitely should have it, because what would happen if you were to, God forbid, pass away unexpectedly in the near term, especially while you have kids, while your partner's by themselves, and they have no finances to cover the loss of your income? What would happen? Obviously, you don't want to think about paying for that, but it's actually such a fundamental thing to have that in place, Because if you're not earning any money, okay, great. People who are not earning as much, it's also necessary for you to have life insurance. The more money you're earning, the higher your cost of living and your lifestyle that your family lives. And to replace one income in your household that's contributing to that lifestyle, that's very, very, very difficult. And obviously you don't want to think about it and you don't want to plan for it because you're not going anywhere in the next 20 years. But we can't predict the future. And when it comes to life insurance, I mean, it is very, very cheap compared to car insurance month to month. You pay, $400 a month for car insurance that doesn't even give you authentic Honda doors. Most people I know probably know nothing about life insurance. It's not something that's on their mind, especially if you have kids or you're planning to have kids. Like, just think about it, right? Like, God forbid something were to happen to you. Your family is left struggling. You probably have to sell your house if you have a house. You're essentially expressing your love for your family by having life insurance in place while you're living. The fact of the matter is, no one wants to pay for something every single month where there's nothing tangible that they're receiving. With car insurance, the only reason you pay for it every single month is because legally you have to have it. Life insurance you legally don't have to have. But isn't that crazy? You legally have to have car insurance to protect the life of somebody else in the event of you getting into an accident with them. That's the main purpose behind car insurance being mandatory here in Canada. But life insurance, which the benefit would go to your family in the event of your death, is not mandatory. And that's crazy, right? They're both not tangible things. You're not getting anything for the premium that's getting pulled from your bank account. But one is far cheaper than the other and provides you with a lot more benefit. Obviously, it's tough to wrap your head around because you're like, oh, I'm paying for something that I'm not going to be around to see. That money's not coming to me. And then that's why most people don't get it, or most people have a problem with it, right? You are protecting the lifestyle of your family and ensuring that they can go on. You're allowing your kids to not have to have student loans. You're allowing your kids potentially to be able to buy a house in cash if they wanted to, or buy a house in this environment where we have a high, very, very high cost of living. Just think about it, right? Like, you pay for car insurance. You're watching this video. You definitely have car insurance. You definitely have home insurance. You're legally required to have it. You don't have life insurance, so why not? Just think about it, right? Like, it's a fraction of the cost of those other insurances, and God forbid something were to happen to you, obviously your family is going to be devastated. Wouldn't you want them to at least not have to worry about finances during that time? Especially with social media these days, like, we just want to have the rainbows and sunshine and not think about reality because of how society is and how everything is structured. We just want to enjoy ourselves. Like, when we eat sweet things and we eat all these different types of food that tastes great to our palate, we stay away from the things that are actually good for us, right? And we eat these things that have all these chemicals and all this stuff in them. Even when we know that they're bad for us, we still eat it, right? Because we want to feel that dopamine hit and feel happy, and then we stay away from the things that are actually good for us, right? Like going to the gym. Like, I think a lot of people go to the gym now more to post it on social media than to actually take care of their body. Going to the gym is a form of self-care, right? It's crazy that it's not mandatory. They don't want you to protect your family, I guess, right? And because of that, nobody protects their family. And then when there's a death, now how do I pay for a funeral? I gotta go into I have savings, right? I guess I'll pay for a funeral. Cool, right? But how do you keep up with the same lifestyle? How do you keep up with the same lifestyle you've been living? Now you're only on a single income. How do you pay for your kid's school? How do you pay for all these things while you're still dealing with the trauma of death and grief? Just, how things are set up, car insurance mandatory, life insurance not mandatory. Why is that? Just think about it. All right, see you guys in the next one.